Hello and welcome everyone back to the podcast. What's next? Today I am joined by my good friend Monica Zecchi here,
Hello.
who I have had the pleasure of serving with in the past. And today Monica is going to talk to us a little bit about grief and anxiety and how we navigate that through the lens of our faith. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what you studied in school, kind of what you do for work.
Sure.
And
Sure. So, hi guys, I'm Monica. So I was born in Egypt. I've lived in Egypt and Wisconsin and then in Virginia for most of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I've been all over a little bit. There you go.
Did not know that.
If there are any Packers fans out there, I'm a huge Packers fan. Go Pack Go.
All right.
In Virginia, I went to George Mason University. I did my undergrad and my master's in forensic science with a DNA focus. And now I work as a forensic DNA analyst. So followed that path straight through.
So cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I think before I decided that I wanted to go down the engineering route, I always thought this would be a cool career path.
There's forensic engineering too.
Oh my goodness.
So
that's crazy.
there you go. You could always get into it still, technically.
Wow. All right. That's kind of fascinating. That's such a unique career to have pursued. What made you decide that this was kind of the way for you?
It's really random. So when I was younger, I used to come home and I would always watch a show called What Not to Wear.
Okay. I don't think I'm familiar with it. But
basically, it was a bunch of people who didn't know how to dress themselves. And there were these two people and they would help give them guidance on how to dress better. That show got canceled. And so I came home. I didn't know what to watch. And I was scrolling through the channels and I found a channel called Investigation Discovery.
Interesting.
And at this time in my life, I really wanted to go to art school, and my Egyptian parents were trying to steer me off of that path a little bit.
Sure.
But I also really liked STEM, like math, science. And so I was watching Investigation Discovery, and they were talking about this thing called forensics and how it's used to solve crimes. And I thought it was the coolest thing. So from 8th grade throughout all of high school, I was like, this is the path that I am going to take. And when I got to college, that's what I did. And then I followed it, and now I'm working in it, and here we are.
Awesome. So all from a TV show. That's pretty fascinating.
I will say it's nothing like the TV shows, but it is still a really cool job.
That's kind of what I was hoping it would be.
I wish, but unfortunately it's not.
It's not like, 5 minutes later and, no,
it takes days.
Damn, I found something. No. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Very good to know. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's that's a very unique career.
It's very niche, I will say.
Yeah.
But I think if you like science or really anything within like the law field even.
Sounds like a good balance of the two. Yeah. It really is. That's so cool. Okay. I want to backtrack a little bit because I didn't know you've lived in all of these different places. Wow. So how old were you when you, I guess, made each and every move? What was that like?
I moved to America when I was 4. We moved to Wisconsin. I had family in Wisconsin, so it's not like we were moving nowhere. I know a lot of people always ask me like, why Wisconsin out of all places, like just like the cheese or something. I have no good reason aside. We already had family that had moved there. Why they moved there, that I can't tell you.
Fair enough.
Lived there for I think 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to Virginia the summer before 4th grade.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I've been living in Northern Virginia like ever since then.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a good time. I will say, I think I love now that I'm here. I wouldn't change it. I think I probably would want to stay here for like a lot of my life.
Yeah.
But I will say the first 2 moves, especially I think the move from Egypt to Wisconsin was really difficult. I was really young, but like I was leaving family behind, and I don't think I fully ever understood that we were in a different country until I got a little older.
That's so funny. Egypt looks a lot different.
Yeah,
here.
like why do we have trees that look like this and grass? It was.
That's so funny. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a lot of change to go through at a young age.
It is, yes, but I will say I think it helped me become a lot more adaptable now that I'm older.
Yeah. I've done my fair share of moving as well, and I think I can relate to that.
Yeah. Where did you move?
Oh man, well, so I was born in Canada.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Go figure. I didn't spend much time there though. It was
Okay.
about a year, less than a year, I
Okay.
think. Then we moved to Colorado, and
All
I
these
lived
cool
there.
places.
Yeah, I think Colorado is one of my favorites in
Hmm.
terms of like just nature and scenery. Absolutely beautiful.
Hmm.
Lived there until I was about 9 or 10. Um, yeah, I was in third grade. Then we moved to Texas, and I lived there until I graduated college in 2020.
Okay.
And then I moved up to Maryland, and then I moved to Virginia, and
So you've been even more places than me.
I've
All
I've been
over.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did a summer in Florida for an internship. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you've
I've definitely gotten my fair share of
traveling.
the nomadic life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. But you're right. I think it does kind of help with the whole adaptability and just being
Hmm.
more flexible,
Exactly.
which is interesting because not everyone gets that experience. And I think at one point was just I thought, oh yeah, this is normal. Everyone does
Yeah.
this, but
I
no,
always, it's always interesting when I talk to someone and they've never moved and they're like,
exactly.
this must have been like the most difficult time. And I'm like, I mean, it was not necessarily easy, but
That's all right.
to me, it
Yeah,
was like a normal change. Like it was
yeah,
just like, this is the next step in my life. It makes sense kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. I don't think any of those moves were ever easy, but they were also just like, well, this is what we gotta do.
Yeah.
So here we
Don't
go.
really have a choice.
Yeah, gotta go with it.
Hmm.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, I love that. So okay, so we've both moved around a lot. So adaptability and change is not something that we're um strangers to. That's a
Yes.
pretty cool characteristic to have. I think we've had a few podcast episodes, maybe one or two, that we've kind of dove into what that kind of change looks like and how you navigate big life changes.
Hmm.
Um, so it's good to know that that theme kind of progresses
Yes.
throughout. No matter who you talk to, there's always change, and there's always a need to be adaptable to that change.
Hmm.
Nice. So you've moved a lot. You studied forensics. You went
Hmm.
to George Mason, and now you're working in forensics. That's bizarre. I don't know how you have a stomach for it, though. My goodness.
Well, I stepped away from casework. Now I do the
Oh,
research side of things. I
okay,
will
okay.
say though, I think there's a compartmentalization that kind of happens with the field where
I
like
only
even when
imagine.
I was doing casework, you kind of learn to separate work and reality. Just because if I stayed and ruminated on some of the things that I like saw at work, it would be a little depressing. And that's actually a part of the reason why I transition
Mm,
more to the research side of things. I was like, I need a break from the casework end.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have so many questions for you right now. Like, first of all, okay, here's the thing. Like, all I know about like this field, for example, is what I see on TV. And like right now, Myrna and I are watching a show, um, and it's all about the FBI, and there's all these dead people, and
Yeah.
the forensics and all that fun stuff. And I just like the whole show is focused on them at work. It never shows them at home.
Mm.
And so I'm always curious and I'm always thinking, what do you guys like at home? Because there is no way I can go home and go to sleep after having a day like you just had on this show. Like, I would not be able to handle that.
Can I ask what show?
It's called Blind Spot.
Oh, okay. I've not heard of it. Um,
Yeah, I think it came out in 2021 or something, a little bit older, but it's pretty good. But it follows this
yeah.
FBI
Here's what I will
team.
say.
Yeah.
Um, TV and reality very different. Actually, in the field, we have this thing called the CSI effect, which
Mm,
talks specifically about um, how people perceive forensics and CSI because of TV, and they look at it
interesting.
as this like end all be all magic like wand that you can like it's just where you can like shake your hand and all of a sudden you have an answer to like solve a
Yeah.
crime, and in reality that's actually not the case. It's also not as glamorous at all as what it seems.
I don't know. It didn't look too
Yeah.
glamorous to me.
For my end, I don't go out in the field, for example. And even when I did work in casework, I do
Mhm.
DNA analysis. So I'm in the lab most of the
Yeah.
time.
You're the one they're sending all the lab
Yeah.
work to, and then they come back. The lab results are back.
Yeah.
It's a match.
Yeah. It's also not what we're really saying. um, but yeah, with the CSI effect, I found that a lot of people get really excited and they start asking me all these questions. And here's what I will say, especially with DNA.
Yeah,
Um, you can cut this part out because it's kind of depressing. I'm going to say that now.
that's okay.
A lot of the cases that involve DNA, unfortunately, are sexual assaults. And so
Mm,
a lot of what you do kind of revolves around that a little bit.
I see.
Um, at least at my old job now, because I'm just doing like validations and research, that's not the
Hmm.
case anymore. Um, and I think in general, you kind of learn to take a very far step back from it in the sense of like, I go home, I don't think about any of that stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and I'm
I
also,
mean,
I think, a lot more comfortable maybe talking about some uncomfortable things
sure.
because I'm so like at work, we can have some really weird, strange conversations. And
Mm,
this is just like a Tuesday. And I forget that some people don't normally talk
yeah.
about stuff that's kind of sad and gory. And I will say, I think that's the one area where I'm like, I need to remember that not everyone is going to be
Mm,
okay talking and seeing stuff like this. But I've, again, just learned to compartmentalize.
my goodness, I don't know how you do it. I think this was like once blood entered the equation, that's where I stepped out of biology and any medical field. I was out like that. I couldn't do the blood at all
Yeah, it at some
or any of
point
that.
blood becomes like just a daily thing. Like it's like a liquid that you have to unfortunately process. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just it's sad, but you learn to separate it. Thank God, because I think if I didn't,
Yeah. That's a very heavy I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you
it's very
compartmentalize.
rewarding. Here's the
Okay.
thing. I
Okay.
think I've always wanted to go into a field where I knew I was going to be helping something some way.
Yeah.
And so when I used to work casework, um, it felt great knowing that like what I am doing right now, although it sucks in the sense of like it's kind of gross and it mentally like I'm seeing things happen to people or
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I knew that okay, but I am doing this because it's going to help bring justice. It's going to help
Mm,
someone find an answer to something.
yeah.
Um, and even now, working on like the research side of it, it's still so that they can improve their methods for casework. And so in the end,
Yeah.
it's still so that it can help
You're
bring
still making an
justice
impact.
faster. And yes, it
Yeah.
makes an impact. And I think if I knew my job meant absolutely nothing and it was just like I was just there and I was doing all these things, and I would probably go home depressed every day. But I think because I know that there's a purpose behind it, that's why I
Yeah.
feel okay.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that you don't go home depressed every day.
Phew.
Thank God. Um, I would be very concerned if you did.
No.
um, but also like you have to be I feel like your faith plays a huge role in how you like navigate this job.
Hmm. For sure. So here's a little story. So for me, like my career path was the one thing in my life. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life where I really genuinely did not know what God had planned for me, including my
Mm,
career. But my career path is one of the things that I saw God's hand in, like the absolute most. Um, even just
wow.
the way I discovered forensics was like kind of just like a moment of serendipity. It wasn't really,
Yeah. Yeah.
anything. And a lot of people were telling me like, no, you'll grow out of it, you'll whatever. And I really had my heart set on it.
Yeah.
The fact that I lived 20 minutes away from a school that had the major and that I
Yeah.
could learn,
It's
right?
pretty amazing.
I live near the DC area where there's a lot of forensics jobs so that I
Yeah.
was able to find a job in my field right away. Even the job I have right now, um, it was very much planted to me and given to me by God. Like it was something
Mm,
that I never thought I could achieve or get to. And I just saw God's hand like with my professors and then
mm,
connection here and then this random friend here. And in the end, it all ended up playing out. And I was able to get this brand new job that I absolutely adore. And I've been there now for a few years, but um
Wow.
It was really amazing seeing God's hand work, because originally I really like, there was a point when I was actually in college, and I wasn't getting the internships I wanted, and I wasn't really going like where I wanted, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
maybe I really am in the wrong field, and maybe I should just quit now. I think
Oh
God
man.
I didn't,
Yeah. No
because
kidding.
here I am now. Yeah.
Wow. I think one of the things you said that kind of resonated with me is you had your heart set and God kind of showed you the path for,
Hmm.
in spite or despite all the challenges that you kind of
Yes.
faced. Um, I think I can relate very much to that too, because I also kind of had my heart set on my career path from a very young age.
Hmm.
And it was not an easy path by
Yeah.
any means. It was very difficult. But not everyone has that, like not everyone knows what they want to be when they
Hmm.
are, 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 12,
Yes.
you know? Um, and I think, I think what's comforting to know is that even if you don't know what you want to do, like God has a roadmap
Yes.
or, or a plan, or he's going to be with you regardless of where you decide you want to go, right? Like
Hmm.
whether you go right or left, he's with you on the path,
Yeah.
you know?
And I really, really think that a big part of it is actually allowing God to work in your life, like on his timing. Because like I
Yeah.
said, like I was about to quit my dream and like whatever that I had worked so hard towards, because I wasn't getting an internship I wanted. And looking back at it now, it sounds really dumb, but in the moment
Yeah.
that was really what my brain was thinking.
Mm,
And I waited and I asked God to, like, if this is going to be the path for me, to allow it to open. And it
yeah.
did. And it ended up opening and unraveling in a way better way than I could have intended myself. And so,
Yeah.
really, like, if you don't know, allow God to like lead you. Like, it's okay to
Yeah.
not know
Yeah.
and then see what doors God opens and follow something. It's not like, and let's say you make a mistake, like God can hear you and steer you right back to like where you're supposed to be. It's not like an
Yeah.
end all be all.
I love that. That's also been a very common theme. Mistakes are not always end all be
Yeah.
alls. Most of the 99% of the time, they're not end all be alls. God can use those mistakes to kind of bring you back home,
Yes.
you know,
Hmm.
which is, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. That's such a
Exactly.
beautiful thing when you see that even your mistakes, like God can use those for good. That's so beautiful.
Hmm.
So I hope that takes some of the pressure off of
100%.
anyone who's listening in
Hmm.
this situation of I don't know what to do. It'll be okay.
Hmm.
It'll be okay. Um, very nice. Honestly, you're already you've already fascinated me in so many ways, Monica. Like your job is both fascinating and mind-blowingly like difficult in my eyes, at least. I don't think I could ever do that job. I don't know that I have that ability to compartmentalize that well.
Mm.
I think that's a gift God has
It's a
given you.
learning curve. It's definitely a learning curve.
I
And
can only imagine.
100% also a grace from God. Thank God.
Yes, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. All right. So we talked a little bit about how you kind of chose your career path
Hmm.
and you went through college. And you kind of mentioned that it wasn't a smooth ride from, uh, you know, navigating through all of these different stages of life.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of challenges that we face. Um, so curious if you can maybe expand on some of the challenges that you might have had, if you'd like to share, and kind of how you navigated those challenges.
Sure. So originally, actually, I didn't mention this earlier, but I was at Rutgers University for a semester. So I went to New
Okay.
Jersey for like 3 months.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and here's the thing. I think when we think of school, when we like think of classes, all of that, we often think of the struggle of like, oh, this class is really difficult,
Yeah.
and oh, I need to pass this exam, and I don't want to have to retake this or whatever it may
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Um, For me, I've always enjoyed school. That was still a struggle, but I've always enjoyed school. So for me, the struggle that I ended up really having was during my first semester of college, which was at Rutgers University. My mom was actually diagnosed with cancer. And so
Oh, wow.
and so Rutgers was my like dream school at that time. I really was enjoying it. I wanted to kind of move away from Virginia. I don't know if New Jersey was necessarily the best place, but I was really excited, I think, to kind of leave Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but during I think like the second month or something that I was there, my mom was diagnosed with cancer and it was stage 4. And so right then and
Whoa.
there, I knew I was going to have to move back. Um, I was upset about moving back, obviously, but I think the diagnosis for my mom was harder. So
Yeah.
I applied to transfer to Mason, um, which was a blessing in disguise. I'll get to in a
Mm,
second. I applied to transfer back here so I could go to Mason. It was a 20-minute drive from my house. Um,
pretty nice.
yeah, and actually during my junior year of college, so in January of 2020, right before COVID, I think that year is marked by like COVID for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For me, that first January was actually marked by my mom's passing, and so she passed
Oh,
away,
man.
yeah, January of 2020, right before COVID hit, which was so that year was kind of a spiral. Um,
I'm so sorry.
oh no, it's okay now. Like I really, I think now it's definitely something that God has given me so that I can talk about it as a way of comfort for other people.
Mm,
At the time, it was very difficult, but um, there were so many blessings that kind of came out from it. But I think I want to
mm,
first talk a little bit about um, navigating that grief during the time, especially being like it was my junior year of undergrad. So it was already a hard year.
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then kind of moving forward. So
Mm,
originally, when she passed, I remember it was like the middle of the night and I got a call and I actually was kind of really out of it that day. So I ended up still going to class.
wow.
Yeah,
No way.
I went to class. I wasn't in class. I think I was there. Like I was there
Physically.
physically, mentally, I was not there. I couldn't pay attention. I was trying to like not cry the whole time. I didn't know what to do and I didn't know where to go. So that's kind of how I ended up there because at that point, um, like I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want
Yeah.
to be around anyone, and it felt better kind of being around a bunch of strangers, if I'm being honest. So I
Mm,
went to class. I remember walking out of my class, and one of my good friends like saw me. She was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I broke down, and she like kind of took me away from class, and I took like a week or so off before I returned and like let my professors know what was going on. And
wow.
yeah, and I remember during that time kind of being in, I think it was a little bit of a daze where I just like, I couldn't believe like where my life was. Um, when my mom was first diagnosed, it was a very rare form, like very rare genetic mutation of lung cancer. It was
Oh,
like
my goodness.
non-smokers lung cancer. She's never,
Mm,
smoked or anything. It was completely random. It's not genetic. And so we really had
wow.
like no way of, yeah, it was just a very random like happenstance. And I remember like not fully accepting the fact that she was going to pass. So like I went through the next 2 years of college um just completely normally. I didn't like I was obviously home a lot more and then like the last few months of her life it was a lot of hospice and also just actually in the hospital. But
Mm,
there was this grace that came upon me like right after. And so after her passing, I think before she passed, let me start there. Before she passed, I think God had given me comfort in a way that I knew she was going to pass. It's always really weird
mm,
saying that to people because people always go and they're like, no, no, like, pray about it. Like God will heal her. God will whatever.
yeah.
And there was that part of me that like knew God could heal her. Like I had full faith that if God wanted to, he would heal her.
Sure.
But God had spoken to me multiple times in a way where I knew that was not going to be the and I don't mind
Wow.
sharing like how. So for right after she got diagnosed and I had moved back, I was like going to speak to my father of confession
Yeah.
and I was going sobbing, didn't know what to do. And I get back in the car and the song came. And if you
Mm,
know me, I I love music. I love praise and worship. And a lot
yeah.
of
Yeah.
times, like the way I either speak to God or God speaks to me is through music and through hymns. And so
Mm,
I got in the car, and like right when I got in, the song by Mercy Me called Even If started playing, and it's based on um a verse in the Bible. I don't know the exact reference right now, but
sure.
um basically the song says like, I know you're able and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand, but even if you don't, my hope is in you alone.
Oh
And
my goodness.
saying it to
Wow.
anyone else, I think they were like, okay, Monica, it's a song. I'm like, I know, but in that moment I was like, I don't think I don't think that this is going to be something that she heals from. And I think this is like
Mm,
something that I just need to accept.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
over the next few months, every single time I was really struggling or something difficult was going on that had to do with my mom, that song would play. And it would never be me, but that song would constantly just randomly appear at like the perfect moment. And that's how I knew it was 100% God, like kind
Yeah.
of hinting towards me.
My goodness.
Fast forward to the January she passed. She passed away right before COVID hit,
Hmm.
which at the time was hard, but now looking back on it, if it had been any later, she had lung cancer. So imagine like in a world
Not
of
great.
COVID,
Yeah. Not great
it would
for
have been
sure.
very difficult for her. I also wouldn't have been able to spend any time with her in the hospital. It would have been just very difficult for my
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And then also just seeing the way her eyes were fixed on God throughout this whole thing, and how much she changed during like this really difficult time for her. By the end like of her life, she was constantly talking about how excited she was, I think, to see Christ.
Wow.
And that's another way I knew. I was like, this
Yeah.
is like, I know this is for my mom's sanctification. It's going to be
Hmm.
really, really hard for me, but God, I know, has some sort of reason. And
Wow.
it was a very difficult time. I went through the next years of college, honestly, a bit depressed. That's where I was depressed.
I
Um,
mean,
yeah, but
understandable.
yes, but at the same
Yeah.
time, there was this peace and grace that God gifted me that surpassed everything else. And I
Wow.
actually had multiple people come up to me after my mom's death and be like, "Why are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't think I am okay, but I think God has just given me the grace to be able to handle this in a way that's not that no one else is going to understand, because
Yeah.
there's just something on my heart." And again, there was a way that God prepared me for this moment, so I knew it was coming,
Mm,
that when I explain it to other people, and I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this also that are going to like
yeah.
not understand at all, but God really helped me through that period of grief. And there was a lot of things that kind of came out of it. Like I developed like some more anxiety, even just like in social settings. So I wasn't able to like be around people for a bit.
Mm,
There were a lot of negative things that kind of ended up coming from it
mm,
in my own life. But those things now, and I think, have grown me so
mm.
much. And I've been able to use them as a source of comfort for other people, and to be able to, like it happened at a fairly young, not like super young, but I was in college. It was still fairly young for me
Yeah.
to lose my mother. And
Yeah.
so now I think it's just like I'm able to be a light to people in a way that not everyone can say they can be, and empathize with people in a way that not everyone can.
Yeah.
Um, and like it's a gift, because truly, yes, I as much as I miss my mom, I know that this was for her sanctification and to be with God. And this was the way he chose for her to come to him. Um, and in the end, I think it was also a way for me to build my relationship with God. I think after all of that happened and when COVID hit, I had a lot of alone time. Um, and so
Yeah.
managing my grief and being alone, because we were in the middle of a pandemic, really the only person I could turn to was Christ. And
That's
so
true. Yeah.
there was there was this thing where it's like it all worked out absolutely perfectly. And I know people are going to look at me and be like, "You're talking about your mom's death saying it worked out perfectly." I'm like, "But it did." Like you can see God's hand in every single step of the way. Like
Mm,
for her to know she was going home to God, and like she was so excited even like through her pain, for me to like receive that grace. And it wasn't just me, like the rest of my family too. Like it was hard on all my family, but I could see that grace in all of us.
Wow.
And I see how much it changed me and how it changed my dad and how it changed my brother. And
Mm,
I don't think those changes would have come about in us if it hadn't been for that, like for that whole situation to happen in the first
sure.
place. Sorry, I talked a lot.
No, no, no. Please don't be sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm also I'm sorry, but I'm also very glad to see that you took away something so spiritual and genuine and deep
Hmm.
um, from such a very difficult situation. I can't imagine. I couldn't put into words. I'm hearing your story, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily understand the pain that you went through or the struggles of grief or any of anything you had to do in order to navigate such such pain. But I'm also very, on the flip side of that, it's incredible to see how God's grace and love and peace was instilled in you and your family, and that's kind of the way that, that's what you took out of the situation. I don't think a lot, I don't think many people could do that without having that relationship with God, you know.
And here's what I will say is I think before this happened, my relationship with God, it's not that I went to church, like I went to liturgy every week.
Yeah.
I was involved in like different ministries, but I don't think I had a genuine relationship with
Mm,
God. Um and like coming out of it,
yeah.
that changed so much. Like initially, like even when my mom passed away, I don't think my relationship with God was really built on a steady foundation. And
Mm,
coming out, it just ended up being he built that foundation so much more.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think it could have been built in my life if that hadn't happened, if I'm being completely honest. Um, I've realized just through like multiple things that have happened in my life that sometimes God gives us no choice but to turn to him. And
Mm,
that was 100% like my situation. Like I had absolutely no choice. Like my friends couldn't be there for me as much as they
yeah.
wanted to because of COVID. But also, I think my friends really struggled to be there for me because they didn't understand like the grief that I was going through. And
How can you?
um,
It's
I don't
just
blame that. Like, I don't blame them for that at all. Like, I'm sure it was very hard, like, for them to like know the right things to say to me or like what to do. And like, can we laugh? Can we joke? And I know it
yeah.
was like probably very difficult for them to like, in the sense of like, they wanted to say the right thing and they didn't want to upset me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that aspect was hard. I think in terms of like my family, um, we all grieved very differently. And so for a while, it was really hard
Mm,
there as well because I didn't know how to interact with my dad. I didn't know how to interact with my brother because
yeah.
we all were like, we all did different things during this grieving process. Um, but in the end, like all of us, not just me, our only option was God.
Wow.
And God came through like he always does. And in this moment, like God really showed me whatever you think is supposed to happen, whatever you want to happen, you need to be able to let go of control and you need to be able to let me lead. And
Mm,
that's where you're going to find your blessings and that's where you're going to find true peace. And as hard as it was in the moment,
yeah.
like throughout my whole life and to this day, there has been so much more peace and so much more of God's glory shown to me just every single time I let go. And that's coming from a person, by the way, who loves control. Like I love being in control. I like planning. I like
Yeah.
A to Z. I'm very type A, right? I don't like to relinquish control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes God is just like, okay, you don't like to relinquish control. Okay, well, now you have to because you can't
No
do
other
anything
choice.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. And glory to God
Hmm.
for everything. And again, I I couldn't even imagine what it's like to lose a parent or someone that you love very close to you. But it's comforting to know that if you turn to God, whether you have a choice or not, He is He's the source of peace. He's the
Hmm.
source of love, and He's the answer.
And here's what I will also say, like, don't do what I do and wait until God makes it so that you have no other choice but to turn to him. Because I've done
Mm,
that multiple times in my life where I held on to something like so closely and I'm like,
yeah.
God, like I'm going to figure this out, but like I want you with me, but I'm going to be the one to figure it out.
Mhm.
Um, no, that's not how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Like it gets to a point where the moment you say, okay, it is completely out of my hands, the
Yeah.
moment you stop making decisions just based on what like you want and really letting God lead, that's
Yeah.
where things change. And like if I had like one piece of advice for anyone, it would just be let things go. Let God take control of things. The moment you are unsure, the moment even if you are sure, like just ask God to take control in
Yeah.
that aspect of your life and then see the blessings that come forth. And it might not be immediate. Like I'm not saying like this isn't, like a vending machine where you
Yeah.
put something in and you get something out. No,
That's
but
right. That's right.
like wait for God's blessings and let him bless something because you have let it go and give him time. Like
Uh,
don't intercept halfway and be like, you know what, God, you're not really doing
yeah.
anything right now. So I'm just gonna
I
go
got
and take
this.
it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this idea of letting go and letting God has also been a common theme.
Hmm.
And we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's absolutely true. You sometimes, actually all the time, you have to let go and let God. There's not much you or me or anyone can do.
Hmm.
God is God is the answer. Let go and let God, you know?
Hmm.
Wow. So tell me, like, I know you mentioned like you managed to get closer to God through this
Hmm.
experience. And obviously like he spoke to you in ways that he knew you would understand and you'd
Hmm.
be receptive to, right? But for anyone who's out there that maybe, doesn't really know how to talk to God or how to listen to God, do you have any advice for someone like that?
Yeah. And here's what I will say is even to this day, it's something I still struggle with and something I continue to struggle with. And sometimes it's really hard to hear God's voice. And like,
Yeah.
that's not something that I think is ever like becomes super easy.
Sure.
But for me, the biggest thing first was telling God, I actually want to hear your voice.
Oh
Because I
wow.
think sometimes we go about our daily life saying, God, I want you to work in this and I want you to do this. But we're not actually sitting and saying, God, can you actually talk to me?
Yeah.
And let me let me hear you.
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
speak to me, but allow me to be willing to hear you. Um,
Yeah.
so first thing first, just ask God, like, can you give me the ability to hear your voice and to know when it is your voice?
Mm,
Um, After that, like I threw myself. So during COVID, we had like a lot of liturgies during the week. I signed up
mm.
for every single one I could go to.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah.
just because I was in class, there were no classes at the time. Like everything was online.
Yeah.
So I could go to liturgy whenever I wanted.
Sure.
And take advantage of that while you can, because now that I'm working, that's not as easy.
Yeah. Very true.
Um,
Very true.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
And so I went to every single liturgy and I went in every single time saying, this is going to be just time that I'm going to spend with God.
Mm,
If I was, there would be mornings where I like wake up crying and like the only kind of hope I had for the day was knowing I'm going to go to liturgy and I'm going to just sit with Christ and it's going to give me some peace.
wow.
And then after that, I know this is like a Sunday school answer, but I really threw myself also into my Bible. And I'm not going to even say that I was reading a lot, but I really focused on actually doing like my quiet time genuinely.
Mm,
And I remember during that time, it was like every single time I read a verse, I was like, oh my gosh, God is telling me so much right now. And I was so excited to read my Bible
wow.
and to
Yeah.
open up my Bible. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like, there's seasons of that. And there's also some like seasons of drought, I guess you could call it.
Sure.
Um, but the reason I was so excited was because every time I opened my Bible, I like knew this is the time where I can listen to God. Like God is going to speak to me in one way or another. And
Yeah.
again, I asked him like, show me something today in my daily quiet time. And then I wrote it down because I got so excited that I was like, okay, I need to write every single thing down. And at the end of the week, I would go back and be like, look what God has shown me like throughout this week. He like showed me
Wow.
this and this
Yeah.
and this and this. And he's really speaking to me. And it was sometimes it was words of comfort, sometimes it was words of direction, sometimes it was
Sure.
words of hope. You know, like it's always different, but God really spoke to me during that time. And those are things that I know, like, if you're starting from like ground zero, it can be really difficult to like jump into those things. But
Mm.
even just the smallest, like, even if your quiet time is just a few verses, God can speak to you in one or two verses.
Yeah.
Even if you're not standing up to pray when you should be, or whatever it may be, God will still speak, can still speak to you. You know, I had him speak to me through my father of confession, through my friends. Um, and
Wow.
it was, again, very clear when it was from God because I would be getting the same message from multiple
Mm.
places. And
Yeah.
the message just came with so much peace where like I knew this was Christ because there is no other way I could be having this peace from something, even if it was something that wasn't happy, right?
Yeah.
There's no other way that I could be having this peace unless it was from God.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like if I had to break it down, first and foremost, ask ask God um, to speak to you, but also ask for the willingness to hear Him,
Hmm.
and then spend as much time as you can with Him, whether that's through liturgy or through the Bible,
Yeah.
reading His Word and being present in His Word, and then just kind of meditating and recording those in a journal. All good ways to start to hear His voice.
I will say also, like for me, I mentioned I like praise. So
Yeah.
sometimes I would be struggling to pray or like I didn't know what to pray. Um, there's like the Agpeya, obviously, but for me, I'm not going
Yeah.
to lie to you. The Agpeya is like something really hard for me to connect with sometimes. And
Mm.
so I would sometimes just go sit in my room and find a song that I knew related to whatever I wanted to pray about, but I didn't have the words for. And I would sit there and my time with God would just be me and him. And I would be like sitting and singing the song or the hymn or whatever it may be. Um, I
Wow.
also would just, and I do this to this day, I love going into nature to spend time with God. I think removing myself from
Yeah.
everything around me, and luckily in Virginia, there's like so many
Yeah.
beautiful places.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, removing myself completely from any distractions of the world and going somewhere where like it's God's creation and me and God and me and that's it. And there's no one else, nothing else. And just spending that time again with God in absolute silence, like not even
Yeah.
saying anything, but just in absolute silence.
Yeah.
And it's the same way, like if you have, like, you know, sometimes like you'll have a friend come over and you'll both just sit there and you won't say
Yeah.
anything, but
You enjoy
you
the
treasure
company and
yeah,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
treasure that time still. It's the same exact
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All great advice, I think. And such an inspirational story as well. Such a
Thank you.
deep and I mean, that hit home for me. I know that for sure. I think of like my mother or my father and how much I love them
Mhm.
and how much I miss them and the thought of like losing them. Like personally, that's like one of my personal fears.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a fear, but like one of my biggest fears in life is losing my family,
Yeah.
my parents or my sisters, and having to go through that grief. Um, it's just it's so hard. It's so big, but at the same time, it's also very comforting to know that a few things. I mean, I
Mhm.
think like our faith teaches us that we have joy in the resurrection. We have the joy of the life to come, right? um and so that this might not, this is goodbye for now, not goodbye
Mm-hmm.
for forever, right? Um, and especially if they're suffering or they're, they're really sick,
Mm-hmm.
um, whoever it might be, there's that joy in knowing that they're in the arms of our heavenly Father, no longer in pain, no longer suffering, and full of His joy and peace. And
Mm-hmm.
like that's such a, it's just such a big, like, unattainable thing down here. We, like, in my mind, like, it's so big. How can I ever, be
Mm-hmm.
in my heavenly Father's arms and not suffer? Um, but it's comforting to know that no, like, you're in a better place, and not only that, but they'll be praying for us,
Mm-hmm.
and there are intercessors, and
My own personal interest.
like how
Yeah.
amazing is that,
Yeah. And I will say, like, you like mentioned, like, oh, it's something so big. And like, yeah, it is. And because it is so big, that's how you know you cannot hold on to it. You are not big enough to hold on to it on your own. Like, the
Wow.
only person that can hold
Yeah.
on to it is God. The only person that can give you comfort is God.
Yeah.
And like, if you go and you search for the comfort within yourself, you're not going to find it.
Yeah. You might know this. So in the third hour litanies, actually, um, one of the litanies goes, "O heavenly King, the Comforter, the Spirit of Truth, who is present in all places and fills all, the treasury of good things and the life giver, graciously come and dwell in us and purify us from all defilement, O good one, and save our souls." That first part,
Mm-hmm.
"O heavenly King, the Comforter and the Spirit of Truth, who is present in all places and fills all." I think that's the one phrase I think that sticks with me all the time, and it's constantly going through my head. Um, because He's the source of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying, you can try to find comfort within yourself or in the world. You're not going to find it. Not truly. He is the comforter. He's also the Spirit of truth.
Mm-hmm.
He is the truth, and He's everywhere you go. He's wherever you are. He's right with you. He's right next to you. He's with you. No matter, there's, I think I may have brought this up before. I don't know. I bring this up a lot because it's something that stuck with me a lot
Mm-hmm.
over the years. But I think I can't remember who was talking about this. But anyways, there's a saying that, obviously, like, Hades or hell is the absence of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so even if Christ walked with me through hell, it wouldn't be hell. It would be heaven,
Yeah.
because heaven is wherever Christ is. And if He is everywhere and He is with you everywhere, what do you have to fear? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you have to worry about, right? That's such an amazing, comforting thing to know that our heavenly King, who is the comforter and the Spirit of truth, fills all things and is everywhere you go.
And actually, I think my favorite part is the part you didn't say. It's the treasury of goodness,
I was
right?
gonna get to that too. Yeah, that's
That's
also
like
really
my
good.
favorite part.
Yeah, He is. In my mind, I'm just like picturing, like, this is a little off, but I'm picturing literally a treasure chest, like you would think of a treasure chest to look like, and it's just Him holding a treasure chest
Yeah.
wide open, full of all these good things that He just
Yeah.
pours out onto us.
I mean, I think of it almost, I mean, just like here, like the treasury, like it holds like all
Yeah,
the money, right?
yeah,
It like,
very true.
but yeah, the treasury of goodness means He holds like all the good
All the
things.
good
And
things.
so, like, the only way you can get those good things are from Him.
Yeah,
I do want to say one other thing. I think
please.
for anyone listening who is like hearing this and is maybe like going through their own period of grief and they're not necessarily like feeling any peace or any joy, I also
Mm,
just like want to remind people that grief is like, you hear this all the time, like that grief is not linear. But
yeah,
I really, really want to emphasize that point, because here I am, like, it's been almost 6 years since my mom's passing now, but
yeah,
that is still something that affects my life daily and still something I think about and still something that like will come up and I'll feel like a lot of really like sad emotions over,
yeah.
And it's not that like now that I've given this to God that I never feel sad about it anymore or that everything is perfect.
Yeah.
No, like you are human and you are still going to feel those emotions. It's just again like who are you giving the emotions to? And
Wow.
like I don't want people to feel like, oh, if they are in a period of grief that there's something wrong with them because there isn't.
Yeah.
But like the trick really is don't dwell in the grief. Like don't allow one the grief to consume you, but don't let it also define who you are in that time
Yeah.
period. Like you are a person that is experiencing grief. You are not like grief itself, like you are not grief personified. You are just someone that had something happen to you and you are now experiencing that grief. And who you are and what you're capable of is so much more than whatever horrible things you've experienced.
Oh, that's beautiful, Monica. I appreciate you sharing that. I think um it's also just very impactful coming from someone who is experiencing or has experienced those those life events. I can't thank you enough for sharing that with us
Of course.
today. I know that probably isn't the easiest thing to talk about, but again, very inspirational, very encouraging, and very edifying to know who to turn to and how you navigated such a difficult time in your life, you know?
Honestly, as hard as it is to talk about, it's one of my favorite periods in my life to talk about sometimes because it's just every time I think about that period in my life, I get so excited thinking about like
Mm,
how much God revealed himself to me like during that time. And I get giddy in a way. Like it was a horrible time, but
yeah.
there's like this little bit of giddiness talking about it because it's like, oh, that was like it's a horrible time. It was also such an edifying and good time. Like
Yeah.
it was like there's that weird juxtaposition, yes, but like I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, it was a time where you got to experience God.
Hmm.
I think anytime you experience God,
Yes.
you should have that reaction, you know? No matter what, you know? And even more so, like, your joy in speaking of it and about it, I think that's also very notable, you know? Well, Monica, thank you so much for coming out here and, joining me on the podcast today, sharing your beautiful, inspirational story with all of us. I really, truly hope that whoever is out there listening, if you're going through something similar, hopefully you took something that you can apply to your life today. Um, and again, Monica, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely,
This
you're
was a lot of fun, actually.
you're always welcome. Absolutely fascinating story. Fascinating career. um, and with that, I appreciate you all for joining us today on the podcast. Please do make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow me on the all my social media platforms to keep up to date with guests and topics and future episodes. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. God bless.